Today I will be reading Acts 1, 4 through 8. While staying with them, Jesus, ordered them not to leave Jerusalem, but to wait there for the promise of the Father. This, he said, is what you have heard from me. For John baptized with water, but you'll be baptized with the Holy Spirit not many days from now. So when they had come together, they asked him, Lord, is the time when you will restore the kingdom of Israel? He replied, it is not for you to know the times or periods that the Father has set by his own authority, but you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, in all Judea and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth.
Well, last week, when we last left, the disciples, 120 of Jesus' followers, were gathered together listening to what would be his last words to them. And he called them together and he sent them on. He said that I want you to be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in Judea and Samaria. And it's at that point that I have this thought in the back of my head. Now, I'm a little twisted, I understand that. But I imagine in the back of this room something that looked kind of like a Monty Python skit going on between a couple of these followers of Jesus, right? So maybe they couldn't quite hear what Jesus was saying. So one of them said, well, did he say Judea? Yeah, okay. Well, did he say Samaria? Surely he didn't say Samaria, right? Why would he say Samaria? Why would we go witness to those people? Why would we want to go up there to those half-breeds up there? We don't want to have anything to do with those people. Why would we go up there? Oh, no. I don't know that he said Samaria. I think maybe he said Beersheba. Or maybe Arimathea. That's what he said. No. He couldn't have said that. No. Those are in Judea. He wouldn't have said, go to Judea and then go to other places in Judea. He wouldn't have said that. He said something else. What he said? Maybe he said Bulgaria. That's what he said. He said Bulgaria. That must have been what he meant. No. Why would we go all the way up to Bulgaria? Besides, that's not going to even exist for another 500 years. Why would we go up there? Oh, I know what he said. He didn't say Samaria. He said Sam's area. You know Sam, he's got that place up there, up on the Jordan River, right? He's got beautiful flowers up there, right? No. Why would we go up there? Would we witness to the sheep? Where are we going to go up there? And I imagine this conversation might go on again for a good 10, 15 minutes, like a good Monty Python skit would, trying to figure out why on earth Jesus would tell the people to go to Samaria. Now, for those of you that may not remember your history, there's actually a good reason behind that confusion, because the people who would have heard those words would have been completely flabbergasted that Jesus wanted to extend his mission there. Of course, the Monty Python bit is a bit silly, but the reality is that the people who heard those words felt like Samaria was their least favorite place on the planet. They're in Jerusalem, they're on the south of the map, they're in Judea, and Jesus told them, go to the places you know, right? Go to Jerusalem, go to Judea. But then he also said, now go across the border to Samaria. If you don't remember your history, Samaria is the place where people had a common history, but they had divided theologically and geographically, scripturally, and so they had different ideas. And so the people in Samaria and the people in Judea were mortal enemies to each other. They didn't want to talk to each other. They didn't have anything to do with each other. If the people in Galilee had to go down through Judea, they'd go out and around the river and around, so they didn't have to go through Samaria. Samaria was the place that they least wanted to be. Remember the story of the woman at the well. Jesus is standing there, and the disciples have gone off to go get some food, and then Jesus starts talking to this woman sitting here by the side of the well. It happened there in Sychar. And then they come back, and they say, What are you doing? The NRSV says they were astonished that he would be talking to this woman, this Samaritan woman, in the middle of the day like this. They had no idea why anybody would want to do that. And so what Jesus did was he was being incredibly eye-opening to them to say, I want you to go to Samaria. Not only to say this is part of where I want you to go, but he put the two of these together. Go to Judea and Samaria as if they were one place. And he said, go be my witnesses there. Now, what could we imagine? How could our world have anything to do with that world, right? I mean, how different is our world from that? I mean, it's so far away. It's a different time. It's a different place. It's a completely different context, right? We don't have anything that could even amount to any similarity between the anxiety that the people would have heard as he lumped together Judea and Samaria. Would we? Would we today? What if I said phrases to you like border security, border wall, sanctuary cities, undocumented workers, children separated from their parents and put in cages, expletive whole countries. Anybody get nervous? Anybody wondering where the preacher's going to go with this one today? Anybody start to get anxious when you start to hear these phrases? I would offer absolutely that anxiety that you feel in that moment is precisely what the disciples were feeling when Jesus said, you need to go to Judea and to Samaria. If Jesus were to come here in this place, in this moment, he would say things like, I want you to go to the Americas. I want you to go to North and Central America. I want you to go regardless of what your borders say, and be my witnesses. And that anxiety that we feel welling up within us when we hear things like that was precisely what they would have felt in the back of that room, saying, why would we go up there? Why would we spend time with those people? Well, remember what Jesus does here. When Jesus teaches them what is happening in this area, he does it with stories. Again and again, he tells these stories about the woman at the well, the Good Samaritan that we heard this morning, the 10 lepers that we see. One is healed, the one who comes back. Who is he? He is a Samaritan, again and again and again. Now, you might be saying, no, I don't know, preacher. Yeah, I get it. Now, but that was Jesus. You're saying all this political stuff, but Jesus wasn't ever political. Think again. Because he walked into the halls of power in Jerusalem and he said these things to the people in power and they killed him for it. Absolutely, Jesus made political statements. Absolutely, he knew exactly what he was doing when he lumped together Judea and Samaria in one big kingdom. Absolutely, he said, no longer are we going to pay attention to your man-made borders because now I have a kingdom that is bigger and better than you could ever imagine. This kingdom, doesn't matter what your borders say, this kingdom includes everybody. All are invited to be a part of that kingdom. All are included. All are loved in the kingdom of heaven. And it would have astonished them as it astonishes us today. And so we have to ask the question, so what do we do? What do we do when we look at the borders in our world and Jesus tells us to go to the kingdom, to go to our Judea and Samaria, to begin to be witnesses to them? How do we start to do that? How do we live in ways that are border dissolving? How do we live in ways that see a kingdom bigger and better than the silly borders that we create? How might we live out Jesus' call to be witnesses in our Judea and our Samaria? Can we see ways to minister outside of our own comfort zones? I don't know what your comfort zone is. Maybe it's okay, so I could go to Mexico, but I can't go further than that. Oh, I don't know. I don't even know I can go to south of the border. I don't know. Or maybe you say, I don't even know if I could leave the state of Kansas. That's the edge of my Judea and Samaria. I don't want to go any further than that, right? Whatever your border is, Jesus is asking you to step across it. And today I want to introduce you to 12 people willing to do just that. This is a team of folks who's going to gather together in the coming months and head on a mission trip to Nicaragua. You'll recognize a lot of these faces. You'll see kind of Monty Python head hovering over the top of us, Brandon Gillette. You'll see Tim Bonner, David Cooper, Matthew Johnston, Caleb Lord, Marcia McFeeters, Chuck McFeeters, John Pauls, Susan Pauls, Anthony Seabank, Kimberly Sturtevant, and myself. If those folks are in the room today, could I have you guys stand so that we can see your smiling faces? This is your Nicaragua 2020 team. These are the folks that are going to be representing you across that border, the ones that are going to be stepping across that line into a place that I'll guarantee you is not necessarily comfortable for all of them or for all of us. And they are going to do what they have been called to do, what we have been called to do. They are going to be your witnesses on your behalf to the gospel of Christ and the kingdom that is coming. So the reason I'm preaching early and short and getting out of the way is so they can be the voice of the rest of the service, to tell you why they're doing this, what they're excited about, what's going to happen, where we're going to go. I'll begin here with Dava, as she's going to tell us a little bit about what the team is going to be doing over the course of our week and a half that we're there. You guys can have a seat, but you'll be hearing from those folks as the service goes on. Dava, tell us about what we can expect.
Here in this place is one of the many places that we have access to God's grace and to this Holy Spirit. And with this Holy Spirit, we are empowered to love our neighbors, to take the mission of this church outside of these walls. This congregation, as we have heard many times, you are a missional-based people. We have the passion to know and to serve our neighbors. We have well established that our neighbors are not only geographically close to us. So once again, you are sending 12 of us. We are committed to travel to Nicaragua, in just 7 short months. We are working with Amos Health and Hope. So we will spend a couple of days there in Managua with the Amos people, learning and training and worshiping. And then we get to travel to Apatilo, is that how you say it? A village up in the mountains. It'll be an all-day travel. And here we get to live for the next 5 days, working with Ada Luz. She's a respected leader in the healthcare for the village. Our main focus will be learning about the community and living with them, as we are helping them with their water filtration system. And we also get the privilege of spending time with the children during VBS and youth during a sports camp. Did you know that baseball is their main sport? Pastor Matt and John and Brandon will be in their element there. I will not. There may be only 12 of us going, but we are the face of FBC. We are going to convey your mission and your love and support and sense of community to the people and our neighbors and the children of God. And Susan will be sharing in a little bit later about different ways that you can participate in this trip.
Good morning. Okay. When asked to share why I wanted to go to Nicaragua, I immediately started to panic. For one, talking in front of adults is really scary. Second, how am I to put my feelings into words to share? Hopefully, what I'm about to say will convey most of my feelings. First, I'm excited to go back to Nicaragua because I've been there, and it's beautiful. Second, I have seen Jesus working in Nicaragua, and I'm anxious to see all that he has done since my last visit. Finally, I long to live a simpler life. I have seen that despite all the ups and downs they live daily, the Nicaraguans are happy, simple people. My hope and prayer is that while working alongside these simple, happy people, they can teach me how to live a more simple and happy life.
You've by now heard a number of people connect this mission, this trip to Nicaragua, with a variety of the things that they know and the things that have made them who they are. In the early service, for example, Caleb talked among other things about how this is a good opportunity to connect some of the skills and values learned in the Scouts, right, and really put them to use. We've heard John talk about his parents and his upbringing in a church and how the importance of mission is part of who he is, right? Well, now it's my turn. In the early 70s, the philosopher John Rawls wrote about a theory of justice that he'd come up with in a book he published called, because philosophers are good at naming things, A Theory of Justice. And in this book, Rawls encourages people to choose a society, to think about choosing a society from an abstract position where one does not know their place in that society. And he thinks that the just society would be the one that everybody would choose to live in, even if they didn't know who they were going to be within it. Right? This is an important kind of intellectual exercise, right? To view society from an abstract point of view and to say, if I was anywhere in this entire society, or perhaps even in the entire world, would I agree to live in this kind of a world if I didn't know who I was going to be? And so I think it's an important intellectual exercise, this kind of abstraction, because it helps us to focus on what's important, on what matters, in terms of justice, in terms of making our world what it ought to be. And I think part of what we would all hope is that if we looked at a world, we would see people who try and meet others where they are, right? We would want to see a society where people would reach out a helping hand when they can, and would, and most importantly, right, would keep in mind that a society or a world is not populated by abstractions; it's populated by human beings. Right? And that's one of the reasons that I wish to go to Nicaragua. I feel like it's important to meet people where they are. Right? To have some idea that we are all one world, that we are all human beings, and that we all, to some extent, have the same sorts of needs and values, and would all appreciate if people would come and meet us where we are.
We've heard about different reasons why we're doing this, what this is important, how we can connect to the Parahones from the experience that we've had with them to the experience that they now have in Nicaragua. As we gather in this place, we do so because we know that God is calling us to step across that line.